So we're happy to start this third session of customer testimonials. Another one is happening on the other room, and then you can switch if you want. If you haven't attended the two previous sessions, I just want to remind that our speakers have invested time to prepare that content for one main reason, to share their experience, their best practices with you among the Akeneo community. And that's very valuable, and we definitely hope that some of you will want to join us next year to tell their own stories. So this session is sponsored by our tech partners in between. Alexander, their CEO, is here. Let's put the picture, that's better, so that everybody knows who is everybody. And you will hear about him in a few minutes. And together, we choose our common customer, Swiss KRONO, by Jonas, represented by Jonas today. We'll come back to you, Jonas, to talk about the importance of digital publishing in the whole omnichannel experience. How is it part of that? How does it support it? And all the learnings we can have about that. And in addition to Jonas and Alexander, Willy is here from our partner Unique, and he has been also very valuable to Jonas and Swiss KRONO Group team from the beginning, from the evaluation phase, and we will tell you the whole stories, and you will understand why Willy is here with us. So let's start with you, Jonas. Can you tell us a few words about yourself and about the Swiss KRONO Group that maybe not everybody know? I particularly discovered that in the story with you. That's a great story. Can you tell it to us, please?
Yes, please. So, with the next slide, please allow me to introduce Fabian Kolliger, who's the head of marketing of the Swiss KRONO Group, and myself. Unfortunately, he cannot be here today. And you see two guys working with wood. One is cutting trees in the forest, and the other is working in a sawmill. And you might ask yourself, what has this to do with PIM? It's easy. We both have a true passion for wood and therefore work for Swiss KRONO Group, who is a leading manufacturer of wood-based material, such as interior material. It is particle board MDF, which is being used to produce furniture, composite and laminate flooring, and OSB boards. We have 8 national companies with in total 5,000 employees at a turnover of approximately 2 billion per year. So also important to mention at the beginning is that we are only dealing with B2B customers. Nevertheless, we set ourselves ambitious objectives when it comes to sales and marketing. So that meaning we want to become more customer-centric. We want to enhance the omni-channel marketing, not just for ourselves, but also for our customers. And for those 8 local entities, we want to harmonize, or we wanted actually, now we finalized, to harmonize the product model in PIM.
Very clear. Can we hear me? Yes, now. Very clear, Jonas. Just before we go on with the Swiss KRONO Group and how do you work internally, I just want to come back to the picture. So,
sure. Who
is in that picture? You?
Yeah, that's me and that's Fabian.
And that's Fabian, who is not here, and you are both passionate with wood. And so Fabian worked with you at Swiss KRONO. That's it. So it's you on the picture.
He's the head of marketing for the Swiss KRONO Group. He should have been here today, and I'm representing him.
I just wanted to make sure. So it's you here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. So let's come back to Swiss KRONO. So how are you organized internally? I mean, you say that you have 8 national entities. This is really important that we have the big picture in mind. How do you work, I mean, the HQ with the entities? How is that happening?
Yeah, some of the functions are centrally based in our headquarters, Lucerne. That's the IT, marketing, sales, etc. But we always have the pendant in the local entities. So the same goes for the PIM. The global product model has been defined centrally and will be carried out to all 8 legal entities.
Okay. And so concerning product information, what was at stake What was the main challenges and how did everything start? When did it start and how did you start?
Well, in the course of several IT projects or projects in general, we have identified a possible need for a PIM system because product information management was solely done manually. So a lot of manual labor involved. Some of you might refer to that. That means that the original website has been built with Excel. And
We know that.
I've been involved in this project. It's been an absolute nightmare, to be honest. So, and for that, we have done a pilot, a pre-project with the Swiss site in order to analyze if there is a need for a PIM or not, but the answer was clear, yes.
So that's during that evaluation phase that you met this guy is near you, this guy near you?
Yeah, interesting
Really?
question.
How did you meet him? How did you meet him?
Not quite, because the pre-project has been done with another partner, and this partner is also working with another system provider. And I will come.
Another question? No.
Absolutely fair question. And I said on purpose, provider and a partner, and we will come a bit later on why we haven't chosen this partner.
Okay. And so why? Can you tell us more? Why you didn't choose? We guessed that, obviously. But no, but what was the PIM objective? What did you have in mind? The objective with the PIM?
The objective with the PIM was clearly to have a consistent product information management, also to supply all output channels with sorry, I might sound like a broken record. We've probably heard that in every session, but that's so true.
Yeah.
The only single source of product information.
You needed that.
Yeah.
As a lot of people. Yeah, that's normal. And so really, when you met Jonas, what did you have in mind? How did you know you could help him achieve his goals?
Yeah, at first, I really wasn't sure whether we will actually win the pitch because they were already dealing with another company and possibly in favor of the other system. But we were, like, together with Akinio, able to convince Swiss KRONO that we're the product of choice and the partner of choice. And so we started. It was based on the marketing side, and then COVID came, and the question, like, can we do the project at all or not? It was actually one of the first agile projects for Swiss KRONO, so this was something new as well. And finally, like, the first time the team met was at the end of the first phase of the project. That was the first time we all met. The project team is quite spread. There was Swiss KRONO in Berlin, in Lucerne. We are in Zurich, Karlsruhe, and so it was quite distributed. And we started from the beginning, tried not only to sell a product, but to tell them how we want to achieve the goals together. I think this was or hopefully or apparently something that was convincing, and so Swiss KRONO said yes to both of the systems. And we also showed them at the very beginning that we not only need to think about the PIM as a system, but the overall architecture. And I'll explain it later on, like how PIM will interconnect with the various systems that are actually in place. So here, that's maybe the most complicated slide you see during those 2 days, but I'll try to shortly explain what the situation was and what the target picture will be or already is. So there was no PIM. There was some kind of a PIM, but not really. A lot of Excels, a lot of data in mind, but SAP system, which was rolled out or is still being rolled out on SAP S/4HANA. So it was very clear that PIM follows SAP, and we needed the master data, but SAP was not yet ready, or the interface was not that easy. So we needed to start on the PIM side even before. It was clear that besides the PIM, they also, like Swiss Chrono, needs a DAM system, and they've chosen Tessa. They wanted to do the DAM project afterwards, but we said, come on, let's do it together. Let's be ambitious. So we started it more or less at the same time. It was also clear that translation processes need an overwhelmed process, so there was another evaluation running besides Akinio, Tessa. It was then Supertext. They are now building a module for Akinio, which will be introduced pretty soon. And then, of course, it was all about the distribution channels. There are many of them, and they're not everything is yet connected. First, it was about the websites, but not for all countries, because SAP, then PIM, DAM, and then the rollout to websites, to countries. And at the same time, or later on in the process, it was clear that Swiss Chrono wants to enter the digital commerce area as well. So another pitch, and we are happy that we can also accompany Swiss Chrono with a Spryker project for the future customer portal, which will go live in about 1 to 2 months. Yes, and then of course digital publishing. This is what this session is mainly about, because a lot of manual work for catalogs, for fact sheets. There are hundreds of fact sheets, norms changing, and a very manual process. So this was also clear that digital publishing will play a vital role. Besides this, I think a PIM project is not only about technology and interconnecting systems and data streams. It's a lot about organization, about stakeholders, about bringing people to the PIM, or as Fabian always said it, PIM isn't sexy, let's make it sexy, like let's make it appealing. But finally, actually, he's now quite fond of having a PIM and thinks PIM is a central base for the future digital transformation initiatives, and this is really great to see. And it's important that the client embraces those technical systems. That's the only way you get the value out of it.
And so Jonas mentioned it, their customers are B2B customers. And it's true that when we prepared that conversation together, guys, I kept mentioning print, because of course you address also and you give some print published to your customer, but you also mentioned a lot digital publishing. And I was really interested in knowing more about that. And for that question, I will go to Alexander. And really that was a question I asked you during our preparatory work, what is actually the difference between what we call digital publishing and the traditional database publishing, or what we basically call the print, Alexander?
Yes. Basically, technically, it's not much of a difference. You see, you have data, you automate it and put it in layout with the correct fonts and everything. So that is not the big thing. But the context and the role and everything changed a lot. I wanted to go back to history when I see how it all began. When I started in 1990s, or not me, yes, sometimes later, it was more about automating some catalog. You had the catalog, and then you entered the data specifically to generate that catalog. You used tools like Zigzag Server, you had FrameMaker, and even Quark 4.11 was 5 years away. That came 2000, and InDesign came 2005. So it was a pretty isolated thing. You created the database just for the sake of creating the catalog and price list. And then things changed a bit. You had the first PIM systems where there was a digital first idea that you entered the data first and that produced a catalog first. And this was the area when you started to have websites produced from the PIM. And at that time, there was also the discussion, like, will we do print or will we do web? Or what is it about? So we thought about multi-channel. So that was that time. And even at that time, somewhere we introduced the term dynamic publishing because the requirements changed. these days. We had to be more flexible with everything. We had to react on different layouts, output formats, and data formats. So that was dynamic publishing at that time. And now the world has changed completely again. We are not in multi-channel, we are in omnichannel since a few years already. So it's not about or print or web, so that it's not the talk anymore. Do you do Amazon or do you have your own web shop? It's and. So it's omni. And we had in 2020s, sometimes before that, all the disruptive changes with product experience, when big data was part of the game, and the amount of data sources and channels just exploded. So that was all what we heard today, from the PIM context, from the product experience content, channel explosion, and the same applies to print. So now our role has changed, and we decided to brand the new word digital publishing, as a role has changed as in part of digital transformation in the omnichannel, in the new world.
That's a very good point. And what's your guess for next year, for 2023, in the coming years?
All the things I heard today from Fred, yesterday from the partner day, everything is coming true in my eyes as well. I mean, it's exactly what we see in the market. It's exactly what is happening. I mean, omnichannel is getting outdated even as a word in my eyes, because it's more. I heard a lot the word ecosphere or ecosystem, so it's getting even more. And the trend is going to composable, to smaller, more agile stuff. And that's the same we do in publishing, in digital publishing. Yeah.
That's
Digital.
interesting. And so it's not so new for me, but I really have in mind now, working with you guys, is that digital publishing is really fully part of the transformation of the digital part. And a real question, it's more a consultant question, but I know it can interest a lot of people. The question is where to start? Should we start with the print? Should we start with the PIM, with the DAM? Where to start? What would be your advice on that, guys?
That's a good question, because we had, the old way that was done a few years ago was you started with your web shop first, or with something like this, and then afterwards, when all this was done, you started phase 2 or phase 3, and then you thought about automating data sheets, catalogs, price lists, and so on. You also did this because it was the most complex thing you did, so you pushed it ahead in the future. However, when we did new approaches to projects, we started with print as phase 1. Along with the kickstart of the PIM project, we included PIM, digital print, and this has a lot of advantages, because you are able, during the phase where you gather the data, where you import data, where you gather your single source of truth, you can actually print it, or at least view it as a PDF, comment it. And print is something people see. I mean, it's something you can put on an office desk if it's still physical, or you can give somebody to review. It's there, and during the first phase, it's really awesome to help, because you can verify your data.
Yeah, it's visual.
Yeah.
You have the end vision for your end customers.
Yeah. And it also helps if you include the data model from print early on, because print has the most complex requirements. When it comes to, you have to automatically create tables for this, the logic and rules have to be also be present in the data model. So if you think about it at the first stage, you have an advantage. And the nicest thing I saw when we did these projects in the last 2 years is that you have an early success in the project. I mean, you have the data sheet automation. It's not a huge project where you have to change the whole organization and convince everybody. But you can, if you start a project and after 2 months, you have an automated data sheet which is generated out of your PIM system already.
Yeah.
Even if it's not all all products are not there, but you have something to show. So, and then it's the same, you have the project marketing, you have the success you can show around in other teams, in the organization. And so that is why I recommend to start early with Sprint and not after everything is done. You have to include it in the omni-vision, omni-ecosphere and all this.
That's a good
thing.
recommendation. Yeah, that's a good recommendation. And this is a perfect transition for you, Jonas. The question that we have asked to all of our customers, and we'll go on because that's really what is at stake. As you really said, the tool is great, but we need people. How did you convince, if you had to, people at Swiss Chrono to work with this new, and that's such a big project for you? So how did you get people on board with you?
Well, the circumstance was for sure quite special, as you will mention. The kickoff of the project took place in the middle of the Corona situation, and only remote work was possible. And we, as an industry and also as a company, are rather traditional, so we were not used to have online sessions, but we had to. There was no other choice, as for many others. And then on top of that, there was the implementation of SAP.
SAP on the same time?
Yeah.
Wow.
For some, not for all of the sites, but for some sites. So that was, again, additional work involved during a very special time anyways. And then I like to refer what Alexander just said. It was certainly very helpful to follow an agile approach, also to set MVPs and to deliver continuously. So you see a certain degree of success at a very early stage, and that helps to involve people and convince them from the idea of having a PIM system.
They can see why they are working hard for, they understand that.
Exactly. And if you, again, refer to terms such as product experience in a rather traditional environment, they think, yeah, nice buzzword, okay, but they cannot really relate to it. But when you start to show them and they work with the system and they see results, it certainly helps a lot.
Yeah, good point. Now that you are building, because you are still building this strong foundation for data, serving all the channels, what is your next big steps, your next challenges?
Well, with Aconio, it's the further implementation of the sites. So far, we have implemented 2 sites out of 8. We will be implementing or start the implementation of the German site in a couple weeks. And then, important for you, October, November, France.
Ah, voilà.
Yeah.
I will be able to choose my parquet from Swiss Chrono because I'm building a house. I will be able to choose. You make me a price?
No. For you, it's for
time for you.
No, for you, it's for free.
Oh, yeah, cool. Don't tell me twice.
And then as for the digital publishing with in between, as mentioned, we've been following an MVP approach where we firstly just developed one template for one data sheet, and now in a second step implemented all data sheets, and right now we're in the phase then be able to start with the publications such as catalogs, because we are still working with physical catalogs in our industry. Not just, but it's certainly still an important element.
It is still, no, again, I was joking, but it's true. Personally, I'm building a house, and that kind of catalog that you publish are very inspiring, and we just love having that online very easily. I mean, everybody consumes that and use that every day, not only B2B, really digital publishing. Now I understand what it is.
Absolutely. And what's nice is that starting to work with in between, from an early stage on, we realized they are not just a software provider, they want to be also, to a certain degree, an advisor and a consultant. And we had good sessions with the people at the sites, at these 8 local sites, and they then started to identify themselves new needs for the publications, such as a packaging or sample labels, and that's something really nice because they then the spark made some fire on their side.
Cool. Really, also, I wanted your vision for the future and your vision about the global implementation. And also, I want to ask you the same question. Do you fully agree with Alexander that you should start with digital, print, publish, then PIM, everything on the same time?
I still think that PIM is really crucial to start because you need some data, some proper data, some cleaned up data, but then still like a PDF in a traditional company, also for the internal people, it's still something haptic, something they used to look at. It's much easier for them to have a PDF, so this really helped with an early start. And I think what we're building now is really a composable system that is, that can be combined, print, commerce, websites, experiences. So I think you should be eager to start soon and rather have small chunks, but put them out on the market. Rather than have like 2 years of conception, of course. Really be fast, be ambitious, and print is a good tool to speed up things, also internally, especially.
It's a kind of test and learn. You advise to okay. And Alexander, on your side, what are you doing to try always enhance the implementation, the interfacing also between digital publishing and the other touch points in the ecosystem, in the architecture?
Yeah, it's the same trend you have. We go lightweighted, we go easier to use, we get the product experience in the software is much more important. It's the focus of everything right now. And we want everything to be composable. It's not composable. Commerce has one side, that's a big impact, but we do the same. We do composable digital print in some way. We want we want to be able to, do the data sheets early maybe, then have maybe some complex price list, have some PowerPoint training slides generated from content for retail or something. All this can be done with print, and we worked to make this modularized, composable, and more flexible. So everything goes to flexibility, ease of use, small composable things.
And I saw earlier in the day, I can't remember if it was this morning or this afternoon, but you have done also an app within Akeneo. You were part of the first actors doing it.
Yes, definitely. This is completely part of the strategy because even the installation, the download, and the activation of a software is also part of the heaviness you have in old-style software. So when we heard and got invited to the early adapter program, which was very awesome from support point of view, we did pair developing and everything with your dev team from Akeneo. So that was really, for our development team, also a great experience. So it was completely part of the strategy to make distribution, to make buying, to make activating this lightweighted, easy to use.
Did it take long? You can tell the truth.
No.
Because this morning they say, 2 weeks, I think someone say that.
No, actually, I mean, I think it was early February when you even contacted us and said, we can imagine on picking up the challenge to make it till unlock.
So a month?
Yes, I said we will do it. We shifted a few things, but I mean, we tested 3 weeks ago even, so it was just fine-tuning.
That's good. So, of course, we invite everybody to meet you and to pick a rose on your booth. And I take the opportunity to thank Türken for the great help she has provided to all of us. And we would love to hear you, Jonas, for the takeaways, the key learning that you get thanks to this project, even if it's not over. What can you share with the people, with what you are experimenting?
Yeah, firstly, it's the courage for the new. We have chosen a new path. We've Akeneo, and Unique, and in between, even though the pre-project has foreseen different partners. At this point, I can definitely confirm that we made the right choice. And that's not just a saying, I mean it as I say it. Secondly, the remote work for PIM project, it's possible.
That's important to say it, yeah.
Even for a very traditional company who was not used to work remotely, to work online, but again here with the right partners, it's certainly doable. And then thirdly, it's the constant delivery. We've heard it several times. It's so important to adapt this principle of agile development, and it applies very much to our project. It's very important in my point of view to onboard all stakeholders and to test the functionalities at a very early stage.
You want to add something, Mr. Professionals? Ready?
Like I've also a few takeaways.
Yeah.
So one is like, I think it's really important to have a vision, to know where you want to head to in the next 3, 4, 5 years, but not focus too much on, all right, those are the line items we need to get done in the next 6 months, but then take small steps, one step after the other, because your prioritization is changing, and you never know when this data is available from SAP. So you need to adopt constantly, and this is how you speed up things. That's the first point. The second one is really about that we want to empower our clients. So Swiss Chrono, we said, it's not our PIM, it's your PIM.
Yeah.
You need to embrace it, to have the word again, but it's really about how can Swiss Chrono take on the new way of working with the PIM, because it was quite different from what they did before. And last but not least, as you've seen on my slide, it's all about partnerships. Partnerships with the client, of course, but also Akeneo in between, but the whole, like those technology partners we're using from the Akeneo ecosystem, this really helped to know that the solutions we are providing are working, that you're fast, that you can use those connectors, and partnership also a way on how you work together. It's not like us, the agency, bringing something, but doing things together.
We do partner, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really want to say that I've been now consultant for 7 years. I mean, I have started being a consultant at Akeneo, and I'm really happy to see the maturity you all bring. I mean, all the system integrators, all the partners of Akeneo to projects. Now we really go further, deeper in the implementation, and we really see the benefit of that on the customer side quicker, and that's so good to see. So thank you for that. Jonas, thank you million for joining. We know the circumstances are not so easy for your company too. So thank you really for joining. Thank you, because I just want to mention, that you have some factories also in Ukraine.
Absolutely.
And so that's not an easy situation for you. So thanks for coming. Thanks for doing the job. Go on, the show must go on. And thank you all guys to support us, to sponsor, and to share the experiences with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
1 second. I also want to thank Jonas, Uli, and everybody from in between involved in this project, Peter and whoever was involved. But I wanted to thank you for the great preparation you did in our
you.
part.
I thought you will ask me for marriage, but your girlfriend is here. Thank you, Alexander. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Thank you. And so now, if you are interested in listening and learning from Babola, we can switch the room on the other side. Thank you very much for joining.